So today, I just wanted to share with you some of the technology trends that we see happening across the world and how this will impact the businesses that we do, the applications that we do, and basically its impact on our overall life. I selected to choose this kind of a picture here to show that everything that we've seen so far is the tip of the iceberg. We are at the beginning of new technology innovations that are changing everything, and it's happening at a pace that is extremely faster, and we need to learn these technology trends to be able to build business models that will capitalize on these trends and get us to the next level. So, it seems that the presentation is kind of a little bit messed up here, but basically what I wanted to say is every 100 to 150 years, there's usually some kind of an industrial revolution that changes the business models and it creates new industries for us. The first one was the steam and coal, which basically created the first industrial revolution. The second one was characterized by electricity. The third one is characterized by smart and connected devices that will be connected at a fast speed to the internet and will be able to take autonomous actions. We are at the beginning of this revolution. We are starting to see some of that. However, as my colleague had said, by 2020, there is expected to be actually our projections, and also which aligns with Cisco, would be around 50 billion connected devices to the internet. This is, if we look at what's here now, we have around 20 billion connected devices. So just in the next few years, there's going to be double the number of devices connected to the internet. And taking into consideration that only 40% of the world population is connected so far, it gives you an idea of the size of the opportunity and the change that will happen just in the next 4 years. Another point is that if we look at all of the connections that happen right now, it's based on the 4th G. Now, it's expected by 2018, the first real-time trials of 5th G will take place, and the differential between what 5th G is bringing to the table versus 4G technology in terms of connectivity, it's huge. It's much faster, could be 20 to 50 times faster, which enables these connected devices to take actions at a much faster speed. It reduces the latency. So we were talking about the connected cars. A connected car driving at a 60 miles per hour in a 4G system, if it sends a request and gets back the result, it would have moved almost 4 feet from the time that it generated the request till the time it received the answer back. However, on a 5th G technology, it would have moved 1.5 inches. So it gives you an idea how 5th G is going to change and create new business models, especially around the connected cars and especially around real-time decisions that will change the world. So these technologies have been primarily, and the pace and speed of technology has been driven so far by Moore's law, which states that the number of transistors on a wafer doubles every 1.5 years to 2 years. So it's taking us every 2 years. So that means that the transistor usually will get double the performance with the same size, or basically double the performance with less cost over that space of time. If we traced what happened to Moore's law from the moment of its inception, around 1971, until what happened now, we'll see that we were able to change quite characteristics of the technology. What happened is that the cost has gone down almost 90,000 times. The performance is almost 3,500 times more. And there is also, 90,000 efficiency, 60,000 lower cost, and 3,500 performance. If we put this to something like the car industry, a standard car in the 1971, if had it had the same type of technological advances that happened to the semiconductor industry, would have been driving now at a 400,000 kilometers per hour. It would have traveled around the world almost a couple of times with a single gallon, and it would have cost something like 35 cents. That gives you an impact of how the technology industry had changed at a much faster pace than the rest of the technologies, and this is what enabled all of these innovations that we're seeing and we're experiencing. So what are these key technology and innovation areas? Big data. It's expected that this growth of data collections will create a big opportunity for us. Our ability to collect data from multiple sources and the ability to also do computations on this big data and make real-time decisions that drives business intelligence and competitiveness is going to change the way decisions are made. As I said here, there is expected to be 450 billion business transactions per day by 2020. Just to give you an idea, we're working with China Telecom, and just China Telecom per month, they have anywhere between 30 to 50 billion transactions. Their big data solutions now enable them to address every subscriber with targeted commercials and with targeted offers based on their individual and personalized use. The amount of data explosion that is happening is quite significant. Just over the last 90% of all the data in the world has been generated just in the last couple of years. 100 years worth of video is uploaded on YouTube every 10 days. I mean, you can imagine the amount that is happening of this explosion of data. Next one, cloud computing. It's a result of the connectivity that is happening. It's a way to increase the efficiency and the agility of organizations, and it enables customers and it enables companies to set up their businesses in a very fast and efficient way, moving the cost of the standard IT from CapEx to OpEx, and which has quite a significant impact on specifically in small and medium businesses. IoT, I think my colleague shared with you some of the IoT usage models that we expect to grow over the next 5 years. But to give you an idea that just the amount of data that will be generated from IoT, it's expected that there will be 35 zettabytes of data by 2020. Just to put this number in context, all of the data over the internet by 2010 is half of a zettabyte. This is all of the data that is ever being connected to the internet by 2012 was half of a zettabyte. By 2020, IoT will generate 35 of zettabyte of data. It's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. It's estimated between $4 to $6 trillion will be generated by the IoT industry, and some of the examples that we've seen here around the automotive and how it will create the driverless cars in the future. All this is also driving what we called the client continuum. So there will be multiple clients that connect you to the internet. It's not just the PC, it's not just the smartphone. There will be multiple form factors that you will use to connect to the internet. There will be some expectations of these regarding how you interact with those. It will enable certain usage model regarding gesture recognition, through perceptual computing, voice recognition. All of these are happening as we speak. The way that you logging into these devices is going to be quite significantly different now from, actually it's happening as we speak, from the way that it was in the past, using iris, using fingerprints, using voice recognition as a way for you to do some logging into those. And the key to that is that security will need to be a key area of understanding, because the way that the security threats are happening around the world is quite significant. It's not yet hackers anymore. These are very organized types of organizations that enable access to some of the confidential data and can enable hacking. By 2020, there will be 15 billion attacks worldwide. Now, you can imagine such attacks and the impact of such attacks. I think over the last year and a half, we've all have heard with very famous attacks that created some big companies to have some brand challenges. We've seen this in Target with the exposure of their customer data, which was quite harmful to their brand. So security is not just guaranteeing the security and privacy of your customers, it's protecting the brand of the company. Just last week, the Qatari National Bank has been hacked. All of the personal information of its customers have been released. Now you can imagine the impact of such hacks, the devastating impact that it can have on businesses and organizations. We know that some of the target places in Canada had been shut down because customers were reluctant to go there to use their credit card for transactions. This is how significant such security threats can impact the business, and a lot needs to be built to have security from the ground up. So what we're seeing right now is the beginning of the digital business era. We're seeing what we call the digital convergence, where traditional business is converging with the digital business to create usage models to be very competitive. An example of that would be something like Tag Heuer, which is a traditional watch manufacturer. They partnered with Intel and Google to do more of the watches that are digital watches. So we saw a lot of the retailers using a lot of the digital signage, digital features in order to enable their business to become a digital business and to enable them to gain competitive edge over their competitors. This is happening across many industries, and there are many examples to talk of how the digital convergence is enabling this sort of digital economy. Now, what we're seeing now is that there is a vortex of change coming upon us. And this vortex of change is driven by all of the technology innovations that I have talked about, plus also some areas that are creating what we call growth enablers or inhibitors. So the first one is the business efficiency and agility. This is the way for organizations to have digital business support them in driving decisions that will make them more efficient, to reduce the cost, and to be competitive. The next one is the data trust and security, which I addressed in the past, because this is a key in enabling corporations to have the trust, to have that they will be able to ascertain the privacy and the security of the information of their customers, and thus protecting their brand. Next one is the new economic and business models. All of these technologies are creating new business models, especially around the shared economy, that are changing and disruptive to the organizations. I will go here to discuss more on the economic transformation of business model and shared economy. I think all of us have heard about all of these companies that are built now on the shared economy. Airbnb. Airbnb now is the single largest owner of real estate units. They don't own the real estate units, but they rent them. They have over 800,000 rooms in Airbnb. Just in the last few years, they managed to grow to have this existence and to have a market value of almost $20 billion. This is a company that did not exist 5 years ago, but it shows how far that the shared economy can happen. Of course, we all know about Uber, which is also changing the way that the taxi business is. It's very interesting that in this day and age, the largest transportation company in the world does not own a single car, does not own a single taxi. It relies on using the cars and the ownership of other individuals to provide their services. Just this year, Uber expects that they will reduce the number of cars, personal cars, in Europe by around 400,000 cars. And they will create 50,000 jobs in the process. By 2025, the number of cars sold, the sales of cars around the world is expected to drop anywhere between 30 to 40%. So this change is happening to the car industry. They're seeing it happen with the driverless cars, with the innovative models like Uber, and with the shared economy. This is something for us to think. What would be the role of entrepreneurs in such an environment, in such a technology that happens to drive such compelling usage models and compelling shared economy? Why do we have shared economy and why it's booming? It's because most of the millennials, their sense of ownership and their existence of ownership is different from us. They like things to use to provide a service. So they like to use elements as a service. The sense of ownership is different. My age, we like to have our own car. We like to have our own beach place to go spend the beach with the family. However, most of the millennials across the world, they like to have it as a service. I like a car when I need it, and I don't need to pay for all the maintenance, insurance, extra cost that comes along with it. So these are the shared business models that are driving this change, and these drive for entrepreneurs a way to identify how they can fit into this life and this shared business model. So what's a digital business anyway? So there are very specific features of the digital business. These features of the digital business are enabled by technology, and they drive to provide certain business attributes or values. So a digital business needs to be data-driven. That's key. And big data, as a technology, in big data and analytics, drive this data-driven of the business. But what does that do for the business? It enables the business to take real-time decisions that provides business intelligence and make more competitiveness for that business. It is based on a smart world. You need to have all this data that is captured from the sensors, from the monitors, from all of these digital cameras to give you a competitive edge. It's on demand. This goes to the shared economy as well. You do not need to build this massive infrastructure to go forward with your business. You use services as on demand. Trusted security, we have discussed that. The connected experience, and this is what customers are looking for. Customers are looking for the experience. You need to have the tools, you need to have the applications that creates these connections with the customer so that you're able to retain this customer and you are able to provide competitive edge over your competitors. Last one is the innovative workforce. With all the changes in the business model, business is not as usual anymore. You need the innovative workforce that is capable of transforming the organization to become a digital business organization. So I wanted to quickly here to discuss, there is a model which is called the SMAC model. IDC called it the third system. It's basically that the mobility, analytics, cloud are driving and using all of these digital enablers to provide business outcomes that will enable companies to be competitive. It's about using the big data analytics to give you that. I think my colleague here described before me, described some of the IoT business models that gives you some idea of how these business models will utilize all of the data that is provided in a trusted way using the business intelligence and analytics to give you information on how to drive traffic, how to use the smart grid, how to utilize all of these elements to build and drive a business. And Intel, we do have a strategy to drive how we use this data incentive computing. And at the core of this is what we call the software-defined infrastructure. We have what is now called software-defined everything: structure, storage, computing, network, everything. This enables us to use the infrastructure that we have in a more optimized way. All the applications and the analytics platform will be based on this software-defined for everything in order to create maximal and optimal utilization of such platforms. One last thing, because this is 50% of all the enterprise will have hybrid deployments by 2017. We're seeing a move from the cloud being just private clouds into a more wider element where we're using the public clouds for the standard services like the HR, ERP, CRM. We're also having a connection to the cloud systems of our value chain. And at the same time, we're using on-the-edge analytics in order to build and to manage the flow of data that is happening. The key takeaway that I wanted to drive is that there are very clear technology trends that are changing the way the companies and the businesses are driving. We need to understand these trends, and we need to see how we can build applications, tools to give businesses the competitive advantage to drive and to build the business models that take advantage of those to make our operations, to make our companies, to make our entrepreneurship relevant in this day and age. Thank you, and I'm available if you have any questions after. Thanks.